So your last call, did you say was, how long ago was your last call?
2 weeks ago, probably. Yeah, probably the first call we've had with him for about 2 months. But yeah, we were lucky enough to speak to him like 2 weeks ago.
How does that work? So like, do you know in advance you're going to speak? Like, so for example, today, do you know when you're going to speak to him next?
No, so it's really chaotic. In fact, I'm glad you asked, because we'll get a message, and it can be sometimes at about 4 a.m. On any day, and it'll suddenly say, okay, call coming at 10 a.m. So we have 6 hours, and if we're not awake through that period, then we miss it, which has happened before, and then we have to wait another 3 months before anything comes about. But usually we're able to, we're quite on it with it, and are able to rush whatever situation we're in. We cancel, for me, I cancel any meetings, whatever it is, and instantly we jump on, and then often we're left waiting for about an hour, and then eventually the call comes through, and then we have about 20 minutes to speak. So there's no protocol. It's a complete mess.
It just feels like a torture technique. Why do you think they're doing it this way? Why are they treating the former prime minister of the country, and what I consider to be the most popular man in the country? Like, I get people all the time when I meet someone from Pakistan, a lot of times they remember me from that one interview. That interview had more impact, on people talking to me than any leader I've ever interviewed. Just to kind of give an idea to the world of how popular Imran Khan is in Pakistan. And again, he was the former prime minister, a very popular one. Why do you think they're treating him this way?
You hit the nail on the head. It's a technique to try and break him. He's a very, very resilient person, and he's one of the hardest people possible to break. But all of these techniques, shutting off the lights, leaving him in the pitch black, not allowing doctors to go and see him, making sure that all of our calls are at completely random times and that we might miss them, or whatever, not letting us have our court mandated weekly phone calls. All of this is tactics to try and break him. But he's, good luck, because he's as resilient as they come mentally, and that comes down to his faith. He has strong faith in God, and also he's always had that kind of mental toughness as well. So it's all torture techniques, exactly as you say.
Another thing, wasn't he offered, because he did an essay not long ago on Time magazine, and he talked about being offered the option or a deal that included house arrest, and he rejected that deal. And I think he had demands. I think he wanted some other people related to his family or members of his political party. Maybe Sulaiman, can you give me a bit more context on that deal? And kind of him rejecting that deal is another indicator of his resilience.
So I think that's mainly to do with the fact that there are many of his supporters and his party members and family members who are in prison currently in similar conditions to him. So, and he's very, very principled, and he wouldn't, on their behalf, I think that definitely would have played a part. He wouldn't want to kind of, he'd want to be aligned with them.
He's always been kind of very principled, and I don't think he'd go against his principles very on a whim.
What have you guys told him? Like, I'm just imagining if I had my father or a family member in a similar position, and I'd be urging him, because you guys born in London, live in London, so you're away from Pakistani politics. And if I was in your position, I would be convincing my father to do whatever it takes just to get out of jail and just to have his freedom again. Have you guys tried to convince him of doing this?
So actually, when we were younger, when I was younger, I'd hated him being in politics. Would way rather him just do sort of cricket punditry or analysis, and live an easy life in London or out of politics. But it is genuinely his passion, and I don't think he'd feel fulfilled if he wasn't doing what he's doing. I don't think he'd be happy if he was just living a kind of easy life in London, because I think if he wanted to be in exile, he could, but he's genuinely.
He could easily make a deal. Like, he would, if from a political perspective, I'm sure they have certain demands. The easiest one is, and this is me speaking, obviously my own opinion, but him speaking in support of the military, for example, or of the opposing political party. Just one example of many of things he could do to gain back his full freedom. But I think his defiance is the reason he's in jail. And do you still, I know you said in Qasim, the same question to you after Sulaiman, but do you still try to convince him to get out of politics, or you've kind of given up on that?
No, I mean, I personally would never. I wouldn't even want to say that to him, because I imagine you're his son, and all he speaks to. So when we spend time with him, you know, a lot of the time we'll be kind of whatever. You know, when we were younger, we were playing cricket with him. Now, you know, watching films, whatever it is. Half of the time, he's spent lecturing us on rule of law, justice in Pakistan, how, you know, the reasons why he got into politics. You know, we know them so well, and it would be just to go against everything he preaches about, to suddenly just say, okay, I'm going to give up and I'm going to live an easy life. You know, it's just it's not in his nature. He has a single-minded obsession to try and help the people of Pakistan, and it's in such turmoil right now, Pakistan. He's dedicated to it, and he's not going to give up.
And he's always wanted you guys to be out of politics. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, if you look at the two established parties in Pakistan, there's a tradition of, it's like dynastic politics. They're dominated by two different families, and so he's always wanted to. He hasn't wanted his party to follow that tradition, and yeah. So I personally don't ever want to be involved in politics in Pakistan, and I don't think he wants us to be either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, Kasim, you're in a similar position. You don't want to be involved in you're a very successful entrepreneur as well. So you've got a life outside of politics, and kind of this implies, the answer to my next question is that why do this interview and why now?
So